So there's a couple of ways to look at the threats to AI. There's the malicious use of AI, and then attacking the security of AI, right? So from a malicious use of AI perspective, you have to be concerned with like deep fakes and disinformation. Like somebody could create a fake audio or video or alter the content in some way that then could affect the way you make decisions based on the results of something you're looking at within an AI model. They're very difficult to detect and to stop. And so there's a lot of concern around that, misinformation. There's also concerns around social engineering, where it could be used to craft like a persuasive message, once again, that also could affect the way you're making decisions, because like cyber criminals are leveraging that to affect human psychology, right? There's also unmanned weapon systems, which is a really serious concern because like rogue states or non-state actors might deploy, AI enhanced drones or military grade robots that could, affect, what they're attacking. Um, and then, just general hackers and cyber hackers in general, malicious actors using AI to automate cyber attacks. So that's like the malicious use of AI. But then when you talk about like the security of AI or attacking the security of AI, you're talking about like poisoning attacks, where like during the training phase, attackers might inject malicious data into the training set, right? So now with that malicious data in there, once again, it affects your decision making, or like transfer attacks where they might be able to transfer, data from one AI model to another that might not be accurate or might have been altered. So those are some examples of, both the malicious use of AI and the attacking the security of AI. And that's why it's really important going forward with using AI that security stays in the forefront of everything you're doing with AI, because it's so much about how it can affect your decision making in the process of using the AI models. Think about, like personally identifiable information or extremely sensitive government secrets. There's certain things that just don't belong in AI models, that don't benefit you in whatever decision you might be making or what you might be leveraging it for. So I'm finding them indicating that they want to introduce less data rather than more, be smart about the data that they introduce, right? Don't just bring, everything in the kitchen sink into the environment. And you think about where your data lives in so many different places. It's unstructured data that lives on file servers, it's structured data that lives in databases, and it's, voice and video and audio files. And then that's when you start talking about what type of security controls do I need to put around it, which is no different than any data within your environment. You should be, encrypting and protecting that sensitive data and controlling who and what has access to that information in an AI model, just like you do in a database you use today or a file system that you're accessing on a regular basis. So the security around it is the tools that you can use, you may already have in-house today. You just need to make sure you keep that in the forefront of doing that at the beginning and not an afterthought, which for years, security and data protection has always been like, oh, let me do it after, I'll worry about it after I'm done, when that's, now you've got that vulnerability already there. So it's more like doing it in the process of building these models and deciding who has access from the very beginning. And a lot of that's tied around identity access management too. Like if you leverage identity access management to control just getting into the network, now you can also leverage that to control, who or what has access to the data as well. So those are some examples of how you can leverage, tools to do that they may already have today. For years, we've been worried about data breaches where our adversaries are stealing our data, right? To do whatever they're going to do with it, sell it on the black market, use my credit card to buy a TV or something like that, you know? But with AI, the concern is not stealing the data, but altering the data, right? And so that is my number one takeaway is why data protection and control of who has access to the data is even more important with AI than what we've talked about for years with, you know, like harvest now, decrypt later kind of things, is that the altering of that AI data it could affect critical decision making that could affect national security. That's, you know, my number one takeaway.